Hey, Kieran and I did a podcast years and years and years ago when I was doing the Big Esports podcast, it was called at the time, and he was much younger than now. He's still pretty young, makes me feel pretty old, but I think the title of that was something like 500k by 17. You can see by the title, he's a few years older, he's made a bit more money, so it was good to catch up with him in depth again. We've talked on and off over that period of time, but we haven't really caught up and, had a real proper hour plus conversation in person. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. Kieran's a great inspiration to me, and especially because I think he's younger, doesn't have a lot of experience, he looks at things really differently. There's a great opportunity to talk about something where he made a bunch of money off Bang Energy where I didn't. We both reached out to Bang. Bang said, hey, send us the creators that you have and we'll approve, deny, and see if we want to advertise with them. Me, being more stuck in my ways and older and stupider in some ways, thought, no, that's not how I do it. You give me a budget, I go out and find some talent. With him, he just sent them a bunch of talent and he made some good money out of it. So that and plenty more to discuss. Enjoy.
Hey Kieran, when did we do our podcast together? How long ago?
I don't know. I think we've done, is it 2 now or 3 maybe? I don't know. I think we've done 2, or we've done type of LinkedIn Live, one LinkedIn Live, and then I think one podcast. So I think it was in 2020. I think I did it. I'm not too sure though.
Yeah, damn. There you go, huh? Pre-COVID, it's pre-COVID at least.
Yeah, it's been a bit, yeah.
Yeah. God damn, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I mean, like probably the first person I met on LinkedIn, I think. It's been, because I was banned for 2 years. Well, I wasn't banned, but I couldn't get access to my account until recently. They just decided to give it back. I guess, I don't know if it was the wrong password or they thought it was someone else trying to get access, but I got it back after a really long time. So I think it was definitely pre-COVID that we spoke last time.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You were banned for a couple of years off LinkedIn. Damn.
Yeah, I have no clue. They didn't give me a reason either. They kind of, just said, yeah, here's your account back, and that's pretty much it.
Wow. They must have missed you, huh? Or they're trying to inflate some numbers, right? They're like, let's just unban all these people we banned.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they're just feeling nice. And, the person that was looking over my application was like, hey, let's just give him another chance. I don't know. And I don't even know the reason why. It was just kind of here, here's welcome back type thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yeah, I remember last time we talked about like your first deals that you did and like where we saw the industry going and that kind of stuff. I know we did some work together around that time, actually with a mutual contact, right? DMP3, who was some news that I made a video about not so long ago. How close were you with him?
Not that close, to be honest. I think my last contact with him was around there. I don't know how we connected. But I guess somehow we did. Oh, I think I wanted to run some campaign through his like giveaways that he was doing that were like getting a lot of traction back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I introduced him to you, and I think we did a deal with the Fortnite guy as well. I don't know if
we did.
Was it with Unicorn? Yeah.
Yeah, with Unicorn.
So we did that, and then that's the last time I guess we've done something together, but with those guys as well. I don't really do Fortnite as much anymore. Well, I haven't really been in there at all, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, damn. I guess for those people listening who might know what we're talking about, DNP3 got to become a large influencer by essentially doing a bunch of giveaways attached to a live stream and primarily attached to his Twitter. And then I made a video a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, in recent history anyway. He basically out of nowhere released a statement saying that, another update is that he kind of went into running a few crypto businesses and stuff as well. I believe in NFT and some crypto and non-Web3 businesses. And then out of nowhere, he released a tweet longer that said, I'm sorry. And it's never good when someone publishes a tweet longer that says that. So you click into it, read, and essentially he got addicted to gambling and he lost all of his company's funds and all of his investors' funds and all of his life savings. And that's basically the story. And then I think he said he's going to work to get some back or something. And then he tweeted once since then about how gambling addiction sucks. And that's it. There's been nothing else that's kind of happened. It really came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, he seemed pretty, I didn't even know he had a he did anything with gambling, because I'm pretty sure I offered him a gambling deal in the past, like at the beginning, and he didn't take up on it. So it's very interesting. I don't know if he's being influenced by the other gambling streamers that've been doing it recently, but I have no clue.
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? So what's been the focus for you over the past couple of years? I think, last time we talked, you were signing more and more exclusive and non-exclusive creators. And I guess from my outside, a lot of the creators that you were working with aren't so much like the faces, like what you would have at, say, Loaded or WME. Like they're not like Shroud or Dr. Disrespect, or on a small level, people who are, say, influencers. But for you, like a lot of the creators are those funny compilation YouTube channels, people whose voice changes, people who might play, I guess, niche games for the mainstream, people like Rust or things like that, right?
Yeah. Last time we spoke, we were talking about like the faceless community. So, people that create content without showing their face really. And like I've been kind of in that niche ever since. And I've kind of gone into different games like DayZ, Dark Souls a little bit. And those guys just tend to convert really, really well for brands. And I've kind of kept going with the exclusive. I haven't signed too many more. And now I've kind of just kept going with the same ones in the past. So like Frost, who does Rust, Nizar that does DayZ, and kind of like that niche community still. And it has been really a really good business for me. And then we talked about a little bit that I got into real estate as well when we last spoke, and just kind of diversifying my portfolio, my business, and making sure that I'm set up for the future and things like that. That's kind of what I've been doing, and just a one-man army team, I guess.
Yeah, man. What does your crew look like at the moment? Remember last time we talked, did you say your mum was an accountant that was helping you a bit, and also you're able to employ your brother to work alongside you? Have you expanded the team out of there, or are you still keeping it in tight knit?
Tight knit still, just because I don't know, really just kind of the way that I've been running it, and it's been going well. So my mom still helps with some of the administration things, but she's kind of eased off a little bit because, I don't want to, ask my mom for help. I kind of have to grow up sometimes. But my brother, he actually doesn't work for me anymore. He ventured into his own business. So now he's doing a painting business actually with one of his friends. So he's been doing that and it's going well for him. So I'm happy for him. And it's pretty much just me now with my law firm and my accounting team to help with financial year ends. And I'm kind of running everything from A to Z. And it's maybe not the healthiest thing to do, but I'm young, so I must spend my time doing something.
That's crazy, man. I can't believe you're still doing so much of that stuff. In the past, primarily by yourself, and now pretty much all by yourself with like some helpers and professionals. Because, I mean, to put into perspective too, how many channels are you working with?
Oh, exclusive. It's gone down because now my strategy has kind of changed. So now I kind of work with the larger guys, trying to make more commission off of one deal, because I'm doing so much per deal, like going through the contract, the briefs, onboarding calls and things like that, sometimes, now the smaller fish is not worth it as much, making $200. So I try to focus on the larger ones and building it there. So I'm at 20 exclusive, but I'm starting to rework with non-exclusive just because I want to start signing more people soon, or sign those that I'm already in contact with. Because, I don't want to just, I don't reach out and just try to sign them on day one. I try to do a couple deals so I could build their trust, get the payments on time, really build my reputation with them. Because, more people are getting bad stories with, talent agencies and things like not paying them as of recently as well. I don't want to name them because, I don't want to do that. But, just bad reputation in the talent agency. So I just try to build trust with them. And I don't really care too much about signing them exclusive or non-exclusive. If I can bring them a deal and, we're both happy, the brand's happy, the influencer happy, and I'm happy, then, it's not really much a big of a deal for me because I'm not working for a WME or a Loaded or a CAA or something like that.
Yeah, a bit less pressure, I guess, too. If you don't get the deal, it's like whatever, right? Like you're not paying a lot of salaries.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't have any overheads basically. So, when I decide to work, I decide to work. And sometimes that's hard being young because you want to go out and you just don't want to wake up at, it's do something. So, but just being disciplined and motivated to do your work, it's fun. And the people that I get to work with, I learn more, and it's been super fun so far. So nothing has really changed. But we'll see how that goes this year.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, that was the thing we talked about like 3 years ago, right? Like you and I had a lot of talks off the air around like scaling and how that stuff might work. Because I know you joined. I don't know how much you want to talk about, but I'll just give a recap anyway. Because I know you joined another talent agency for a bit, and you're kind of moonlighting with them. And then I know that even we talked about bringing you into our company and doing almost like a reverse acquisition or a sort of acquisition back in the day. And I know you had some offers to sell, to some other companies too that you decided not to go with. So really interested to see like where your head's at with that now, because you've done, you've obviously got a track record. The title of this says $7 million influencer deals by 21. So obviously you got a track record. You got a lot of people might want to buy it. I'm just interested to see that thinking from you now that we're like 3 years later and 3 years more experienced than the last time we talked about it.
Well, yeah, when we last time talked about it, I think I didn't even finish my first financial statement yet. So I have had the deals in the pipeline, but I didn't really finish it, off the year. So I couldn't, get the offers that I really wanted. But now that I've kind of grown over the 3 years, I've had 2 years of corporation financial statements and, small business as well before I incorporated. So my head, I have been speaking to other agencies, but I'm looking to like branch out into other industries now. I think gaming it's not boring, but I just want to experience, the tech industry or the finance industry or things like that. So I think that's where I'm going to be heading, because I think there's more money in there. There's more interesting things that I can learn, because kind of what I've been doing is the same old in the past 3 years. Is doing the brand deals with your typical brands already in the YouTube or the Twitch space. So like, your Raycons, your VPNs, your mobile games, publishers mostly have all the money anyways, in my niche. So, trying to change it up because I'm young, and, why not take the risk and try to do something else while I have the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, man, it makes sense to me, because always the hardest thing for you is that niche too, right? Like you're working with faceless creators. Like when I was at Corsair, doing their PR marketing in Australia and New Zealand, their global rule, at least at that stage, was don't use a face cam. We don't work with you because we want you to wear a headset, or something like that, or we want you to be more personable. So you've also got that added stuff of like, it's almost like you have to work with a lot of the B, C, and D brands. You can't necessarily get that massive Epic Games money because you're working with the Troll channel or something like that, that they might want to work with, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a little bit of a struggle because, some of them haven't showed their face, haven't even said their real name. You don't really know anything except their YouTube channel and their content. So it's really hard sometimes to pitch these creators to, larger brands like Epic Games or, your headphones companies, because, your peripherals, because they just, how are they going to show it other than showing the headset? They don't really talk about it. So it's difficult. But at the same time, these guys really do convert very, very well. And it's a niche that, hasn't been touched. I mean, it's getting touched more now. The Rust guys are getting signed by other agencies, but none of the large agency has tapped into that yet. And if you've watched some Rust content, it's really incredible. And it's kind of like a movie within a game, especially if you watch Frost that I'm signed to. Like, we are in talks with some companies that want to acquire his content and kind of distribute it on their platform. So that's an interesting thing that we could look at, but there's nothing solidified yet. So it's just something new.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it makes sense going to some of these other industries. Like, there's a middle of the road beauty and lifestyle influencer company that I know, and as of like 2018, they were doing $300,000 a week in deals. And you compare that to like most gaming things, it's just, the budgets are so much larger outside of gaming. The profit margins are so much higher in like beauty and skincare and makeup too, that they can afford to pay that. Like I remember, my fiance, she was obsessed with beauty YouTubers for a while, which has really fallen off now actually, like makeup YouTubers. And, they were being flown. There was like a brand would fly like 15 of them from all over the world to Bali to a 5-star resort for like 4 days just to show the new products. Like that stuff just doesn't happen in gaming. There's not enough margin in it. There's only 10, 15, 20% margin in, like these Corsair products or Logitech or, CPUs and things like that. So they're not spending that frivolous budget as much, sending people on press junkets. Yeah, it does happen a bit. When I was at Corsair, I flew people to Vegas to CES for a big launch and stuff, but that was like a once in a lifetime launch, but it just happens, especially in like beauty or makeup, it used to happen all the time because, they're making that 100% plus margin because they're making a skin cream, that costs them $1 to produce and a lot more in R&D, and they're selling it for 20 on the shelves. Like there's just a lot more margin throughout the entire chain for everybody. So it's just a different scale when you're, talking about that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you've seen it too when, like pre-COVID, during COVID and stuff, a lot of mainstream brands wanted to use, a lot of gaming brands wanted to use more mainstream creators too. And I think they got a rude shock when, EA said, hey, we want to use some gamers and some non-gamers to do some FIFA stuff in Australia. This was pre-COVID. And, I'm talking to similar sized creators, and the beauty YouTuber wanted to charge like $16K to do something, and the gaming YouTuber wanted to charge me $4, and they're of equal size. And brands like, what the hell? But it's just what they're used to in that market.
Yeah, exactly. And, I've done my fair share of deals, I guess, in the gaming space, and I don't know, what I can do in other industries. But the problem is, I don't really tend to do anything unless I'm keen on interesting about that industry. And I think maybe tech or finance is something cool, but, maybe beauty is not my kind of thing. But, it depends on what the opportunity is. But yeah, I would need to learn more about that. But I've heard that, those, beauty influencers back in the day used to charge a hella lot more than gamers do. But I have seen recently that, I'll work with a creator, and all of a sudden his rate's gone from 2,000 to 8,000, and he's averaging the same amount of views. And he's like, well, my friend charged 35 CPM, and he won't now budge down to, or he did one deal for 8,000, so nothing under 8,000 matters anymore to him. So sometimes I experience that, and I try to justify, sometimes to the creators, like, yeah, maybe more money now is going to sound good, but in the long term, you're not going to be able to renew with these guys. And, it's kind of just talking to them and, kind of explaining, like, do this one test integration for this amount, and, you'll eventually get a 12-month contract, which will be valued at much more in the future. But they kind of just want the quick money now, which I see really often. And I tend to stay away from those people because, they don't really actually enjoy or genuinely want to promote the product. They're just kind of doing it for that, quick grab, money grab, basically.
Yeah. Well, we went through that with Unicorn, right? When my company was the global exclusive influence agency for Unicorn, and we worked with you, with the Fortnite guy, DMP3, maybe a couple of others as well, but trying to explain like, hey, you're going to get maybe a $30 CPM up front, which is, in gambling, it's probably normally like about 50, right, up front for a YouTube ad roll, but we're going to pay you a bonus of up to $60 per first-time depositor, which is much more than any other company was paying at that stage, but because you want to get those people that will see the long term. And it's so hard to explain to most of these creators because they really are short-sighted, like what you said. But when we found a good person, say like Matt CS, we were only paying him $1,000 per video, and he was making 3 videos per month. But then for quite a while, he was earning 4 to even up to 9K worth of commission in a month. So he's earning so much more than he would have if he just got paid up front. And then he started doing Twitch streams for free. And then we only paid him for an ad roll, but he'd do a complete sponsored video. And because he's like, well, actually, I enjoy the product and I'm making tons more money out of it. So it just makes perfect sense for him to just keep hammering at that, right? But it's always so hard to explain that to people.
Yeah, exactly. And when I bring up the word affiliate to my creators, they don't tend to like it, or they just kind of shut it down anyways, because, they know that they're not getting that upfront money. So I usually tell them, if you can't sell, then you shouldn't be taking an affiliate code. But if you're, taking a larger flat rate and you sell one item, well, the brand's going to be pissed off at me, not you. So kind of have to balance it out. But it's funny how it works.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'd be interested in getting your thoughts on this, like a little story. So I got a friend who's a Minecraft YouTuber, and he was on my podcast a few years ago, and he talked about how he makes like 1.2 mil a year in Google ads, but he just never does brand deals at all. He doesn't have a set price, kind of like what you were saying. So quite often I'll go to him and I'll say, hey, I've got a potential deal for you. Are you interested? Like, how much do you want to charge? It's you got to promote a headset. You got to do a 90-second ad roll and a tweet and an Instagram story. And then his sales process is usually tell me how much they want to pay. And then if at that exact moment I like that number, I'll say yes. and that's it. And I'm like, bro, don't you have how many views you got to get? Like, what's your 30? Can we just do like a $30, $35 CPM and you just chuck in the tweet for free? And he's like, no, just tell me how much. And who knows? Like, I could say $4,000 and he'll say, that's great. And I could say $7,000. He'll say, no, I don't feel like it. It's just like, do you get that with creators that you work with as well?
Sometimes, I've done, worked with brands and I pitch to creators that are not represented by me. And sometimes they'll just kind of say, give me your best number. And I'm like, okay, I have this budget. Do I want to give you this much or that much? But usually I just go with the standard, 20, 30 CPM in between, depending on the channel, depending on the type of content they create. But one thing that I do get is, let's say that they really like the brand, they will, my creators will go from 30K a video to 15 or even 10 sometimes because they really love the product and they want to work with the brand. So, they kind of like look at two brands that they have offers and, one brand will go, okay, we'll have 30, but it's a mobile game that they dislike, or it's, Red Bull and it's 10K. And they'll say instantly yes to the Red Bull just because they really enjoy the product. So sometimes I do get those. And, sometimes it's a significant, like, huge gap where it's like triple or 4x the amount of money. And I kind of respect them for it because, I guess they're accepting the lower deal because they genuinely like the product or whatever they're promoting.
Yeah. There's something, I'm a big MMA fan. There's something going through like a top UFC fighter, like at the moment, he's heavily religious, he's Muslim. And part of his religion is he doesn't agree with gambling sponsorship, and he's been tweeting about that. Like, he got offered $200,000 for a gambling sponsorship, and he turned it down. Because there's ulterior motives and stuff. And I had a staff member like that in the past too. When we were working with Unicorn, he doesn't feel comfortable working with gambling, and I was like, that's fair enough, man. Like, I'm not going to force you for a paycheck to work on something you don't like. And you'll find, and like you said with the charges, right? They'll do that sometimes if they don't. I mean, we negotiated with Shroud right until like the final process, I guess, but the client decided not to go through with it for a couple of reasons. But, it was the same kind of thing. A lot of his pricing, according to his biz dev that we were talking to, was based on like how much he likes your product or something like that, And like if he wants you to, sometimes they'll put up a price. It's like, if you're dumb enough to pay it, then they will charge you that. But for us, it was around $1 per concurrent viewer, which is kind of in the bottom third, of like, okay, he thinks that there's some merit in promoting this and it's not too divergent to what he's about, and he's not going to hate his life for playing this thing over a couple of hours on his stream. Yeah,
exactly. We got that for gambling too. Some of these gambling companies like Stake and these offshore casinos have been offering our clients to do like a 15-second ad roll for like $120,000, where the creator will usually just charge maybe 50 or 40. Obviously he's a larger creator, but for a 15-second ad roll that he doesn't have to create, so they kind of give him a pre-made one. Back in the day when CS:GO skins, kind of like that, and just chuck it in the middle of the video, and they pay him. I think it was like an 85 CPM for a 15-second ad roll, but he turned it down because it's gambling and that's not what he's about. And that's what I respect. I mean, some of the money that our guys have been offered, like they've done like package deals for our whole talent roster, and initial look at it looks crazy, but then you have to weigh out the ethics of it and things like that. And if the creator really wants to promote something like a casino. Which I advise not to, but it's at the end of the day, it's their final decision. If they want to and they want that check, then I kind of have to respect their decision. But I try to tell them, listen, I don't think this is the best idea, and we can, offers will come for much lower for actual genuine brands or brands that are okay to promote. But it's up to you. But
yeah, and you get the opposite too to what we're talking about. A lot of the time I find where creators' views will go down, but they still want to charge the same amount of money. because they're used to
Oh my
charging
God.
8K for an ad roll and they want to charge
Yeah.
8K. All right. So you experience a lot too then. That response.
It's a headache, man. Even the other day, this guy used to charge about, when I used to do deals with him, about 25K, and his views have really gone down recently. And I offered him a deal for like 10K, which is still decent, but he was pissed basically because he was like, no, we used to work at deals at 15 to 20K. What happened to you? Are you taking more percentage? And I'm like, bro, before you start telling me I'm taking more commission, I'm just, they're basing it off your current views. And they're like, well, my last video got 1 million views and my recent video is only at 300K, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, man. And yeah, but I have so many of those where these guys, they get that one big check and they expect to get it every single time afterwards. And, they won't accept the deal, or some of these guys that will fight for for a couple of dollars. They will, a brand will offer them 2,000. They will try to get $2,150 or they won't do it. Or, and I'm like, maybe if it was a couple of thousand, but for pennies, there's no point of arguing for pennies, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10K, yes, but 300, $400, I don't think it's worth it.
It's hard too. Like, some of the creators, including my friend, I think part of it is too, he's earning so much more money than he ever thought he was going to earn in his life. And I think, I've been trying to help him think more like a business person because he's simply just not. That's not his prerogative and that's not his history and where he's come from. But I think he's so scared to screw something up as well. He just doesn't want to change anything. And then, anyone knows that if you're not innovating, like you're losing a lot of the time in business. You got to change with the content style, or you got to change with the way business is conducted and stuff. I've got another friend, for example, who doesn't have, like they're a sole trader with their business, so they're not tax mitigating at all. They're not employing themselves. They're not paying themselves like 401k. It's called superannuation here in Australia. They don't have a trust or a trustee that's attached to any of this stuff. So there's no tax mitigation going on. So they're paying the full tax. There's, they don't have a offshore bank account, like a USD bank account. So they're getting paid USD into the AUD bank account. So they're just getting fleeced, by their bank on transaction fees and things like that too. And it just goes on and on and on. And I set them up with an accountant had a call with them, wrote like a massive email. And that's about 3.5 years ago now. None of it's been done yet. And and the numbers were real. The numbers were like, you'll save, like set up an Airwallex account and you will save $20,000 a year in transaction fees. Like you set up your 401k, you at your age where you are, you will retire with $4.5 million in your 401k. That's basically tax-free given, the mitigations going on. Like these are real numbers. And the person's just like, I don't think I will. I'm just got to keep making videos.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Most of my creators now, I tend to try to get them set up with, a corporation or tell them, kind of pay yourself a salary or, like you said, mitigate the cost. Cause some of them, are one guy with me, initially who was making maybe 60K in ads in a year outside of his ad revenue. So he's probably making like 120. And then after me, that first year he went to 180. And then the third year he went to 500,000 just in ads or sponsored. And, he wasn't set up at all. And he was like, well, now I have to pay 55% because he was in California of tax.
Ouch.
And, it's a huge bill for him. And, the next or the following tax year, he set up a corporation. Now he pays himself out and he pays dividends to his family members, that are not working that he can take tax free. I don't know, in Canada, it's up to 20,000. If you don't have any income up to 20,000, it's tax free of dividend, or you pay a very minimum amount of tax on that. So,
through a trust. That's what it is here. Through a trust, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been trying, as much as possible, but, I have some creators that, they make their couple, they make a significant jump in income, and then they go ahead and go buy themselves $1 million apartment or, a penthouse, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, oh no, what happens if your channel, they kind of just spend it all. And I'm like, you have taxes to pay, right? Which can be hard for some of them because they see the money come in and they deposit in their bank account and they don't know how to really deal with it. They don't have accountants. They have, I've dealt with so many young creators that have their parents as their kind of like manager or whatever you want to call them, and doing all their deals. And I'm not too sure if they're actually certified accountants or just helping out, but I'm worried for some of them that they're, they might get in trouble with some tax stuff, or, some of them have told me to get them another deal so they can pay a little bit of their tax bill. This was at the beginning, but he was missing a couple thousands, and he said, I really need to deal because I'm owed $6,000 on my tax bill that I didn't pay because, I've spent all that money on purchasing a house, I think it was. So, he was, while we had to do a deal there, and then he had to do another deal to catch up on that tax bill. It was just super complicated.
Yeah, always behind, huh? And I know after this too, I'm going to get a lot of messages from people saying, hey, I've got a fantastic service. I'd like to help creators. I can help them make more money. I can help them save money. I can help them do things better. And the thing I say to them all the time is, no matter how fantastic your idea is, and they often are fantastic, the creators just do not give a shit. And that's the hardest part. I've had so many, especially earlier in my career, I had so many people come through to me with business ideas or businesses that exist, and looking at them, and there's provable case studies, dozens and dozens of case studies that they'll help a Twitch streamer increase their earnings by 30%, every hour or something like that. And, it's turning struggling Twitch streamers into making really decent incomes. And, every time I just pitch it to any creators, they're just like, no, I don't think I will. I think I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So, if anyone's planning to make a business to solve these problems, because Kieran and I have spent ages complaining about all the problems, unfortunately, most of the time it just comes down to the person, and the person just doesn't want to do it. They don't care. I had that all the time. Hey, this is provable. It can help you earn 30% more every hour on Twitch. Don't care. Not doing it. Goodbye. Stop talking to me.
Exactly. I get the same exact attitude. I'm just kind of I'm trying to help you here. I try to get them with a financial advisor, or, I'm not making money from it. So it's just kind of recommendation, trying to help you out. And, they're like, nah, I'm too busy. I don't really care about that right now. I'm good, or whatever. And recently I've actually been getting emails from, I don't know what the company's called, but they're like these companies that will invest in you today in your YouTube channel. And, they kind of own your revenue. And I'm kind of scared that there will be creators where they'll sign off to get that $50K upfront. And, what if they decide, no, I'm not making money anymore. I'm not making YouTube videos anymore. I'm done. Kind of have a nice day. I want that $50K. I'm kind of worried that there will be some cases there. So I tend to, not reply to those, or not get, offer those deals, because I'm kind of worried for some creators that want that upfront kind of cut and kind of just disregard the rest of what, their deliverables or amount of content they would have to upload over the next 2 years of revenue that the company wants back, or whatever the deal is.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the company that buys your back catalog and then owns the monetization, or are these guys investing in your future growth?
They're investing into your future growth. So they'll give you about $5,000 to $100,000 up front, so you can invest into your content, to your team, whatever, what you want to do with that money. And they'll own, let's say, that 50% of your revenue for the next 2 years until they recuperate, or whatever, the deal is. I haven't really done a specific deal because I stay away from them, but I get these emails all the time, every day, for every influencer. So I get 20 a day. And, I'm worried that some of these creators without representation, or, are young and just look at that 50K, deal, they'll do it. And, even back in the day when MCNs used to pay up front for creators, so they would, to use the likeness of larger mainstream creators, they'll, give you 50K up front, but then you look at the contract and it kind of screws you up, because they're taking much more than, the 80-20 split or the 90-10, whatever it is. But, I see that often now.
Yeah. Do you remember the lifetime contracts? Was it Machinima? Used to have lifetime MCM contracts with people.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that. I just knew that. I remember I know a manager. I don't know who he was, but I don't remember his name. But he used to have this talent of creators, and he would just pass on his creators right to the influencers, and they would get 20K up front, depending on their revenue. And he would just take 20% and just make his money from there. But he was letting these creators sign these contracts where they were 70-30 splits 60-40 and things like that. So he was just kind of getting that upfront percentage that he was because he was their agent and just kind of going away afterwards, which was weird.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think it was Machinima, because I even remember Muselk, like he owns Click Management and stuff. I'm pretty sure I remember him talking about it too. Machinima was like the MCN back in like the kind of early phase days, like the trick shotting, Modern Warfare 2, like that kind of stuff. And from my understanding, they were lifetime contracts that people were, I assume it's not enforceable, but yeah, people were probably a bit too scared to get out of it. But yeah, that buying the back catalog one was interesting too. Someone told me, and I can't remember who it is, so I have no idea if it's true or not, but someone told me they bought Mr. Beast's back catalog as well. So essentially what they'll do is they'll say like, hey, every video before January the 1st, 2023 back, we now own 100% of the revenue, the ad revenue in the future for that video. And it somehow gets paid through to them directly, I assume through whoever your Google Ads manager is, and they'll pay upfront a certain amount of money for that. So they paid, tens to hundreds of millions for Mr. Beast's back catalog. They gave an offer to my Minecraft friend, for example, for like $100,000 or something like that up front as well. But yeah, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I got told their strategy. I got told essentially their strategy is they're betting on the growth of YouTube. And they're offering it to channels who get those back catalog views. Like, once again, my friend who's a Minecraft YouTuber, he doesn't get impressive views on any of his videos, but his monthly views are quite impressive because he does lots of series and people will go back and they'll watch, 4, 5, 6, they might the algorithm might push them, episode 25 and they're like, well, shit, I want to go back and watch them all. And I assume Mr. Beast is probably pretty similar too. His videos are pretty timeless. So they're betting on like the general growth of YouTube and them owning as much as possible and kind of like, squatting isn't the right word, but just investing in as many different things as possible, almost like an ETF, like they're trying to invest in the total growth of YouTube. And I feel like it's a pretty good bet. Like, Mr. Beast on Lex Friedman's podcast, I think something that he highlighted that I thought was cool was no one can really overtake YouTube because I don't think people realize like how many ads YouTube sells. Like people just expect YouTube like ad revenue to come to the creators as a free thing. I mean, they have to sell that. Brands have to put that money through there. It's like YouTube in a way is almost like the biggest agent in existence. Oh, we lost him. We lost him and down to the listening. Try to get him back up.
My bad. I do not know why.
Hey.
Yeah, sorry. My computer just kind of went black screen and it came back. So I left off as you talking about the ETFs.
Getting banned again. It's almost like it's almost like they're betting on like ETFs bet on just like a general market, you can buy like an ETF based generally on tech or an ETF based generally on like whatever. And it's almost like what they're betting on. And I think and it makes sense to bet on YouTube in general sense, like what Mr. B said in the Lex Friedman podcast was around like, I don't think people realize that YouTube's in a way almost like the biggest agent ever because people expect YouTube ad revenue just to come through and it just to be a thing. I mean, they have to sell that. It's not just free money that just comes out of thin air. But as far as the creator's concerned, it definitely is free money that comes out of thin air. And it's just crazy to me that YouTube can generate those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of brand deals on their side and pass those through to creators through ad rev.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of impressive when you put it that way. Some people just, like you said, don't think about it. Just think, oh yeah, YouTube's going to be there. It's kind of like, they pay the creators, but no, they have to sell billions of dollars. I don't know how much they did this year. I think it was like, wasn't it like 20 billion or something, or 15, something crazy that they brought in?
Yeah, I'm trying to Google it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 15, but I'm not too sure. But I mean,
so there's an article here from Fortune. YouTube has paid out $30 billion to creators. So I don't know over what time. I don't know over what time that is though. I assume that's a lifetime payout.
Yeah,
and then obviously it's scaling. It's growing and growing. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of when you talk about the buying the backlog, I mean, a lot of I don't know if you've seen them, but these animation channels, they won't get like views initially. Like I'll have a creator that will post in the first month, it will get about, I would say 300K views. But maybe after a month, it will go from 300K to probably 5, 6, 7 million. And, it's hard to sell brands because they try to get the views within the 30 to 45 days. And he kind of explained, well, the views, they'll come afterwards. So maybe it'll be interesting to see if those companies will purchase the backlogs of animation channels. But, that's not something my creators do, just because, the risk against reward and, some of them being super young. But another interesting, I did start signing animation channels because I think it's super interesting. And these guys' teams are massive for the amount of, I have a 17-year-old. He probably has like 10 animators on his team, and he's paying them a lot of money per month just to make one video, because usually animation channels upload maybe between 2 to 6 months because of the amount of work that they put into their content. And he has probably a wage bill of maybe $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and he's not really making money. He's not. His margins are very, very slim, let's say the least. And he has to get a sponsor on every video, and it's super hard to sell because of his views, and the amount of time that it takes for him to get his 3 to 4 million views a video. It takes much longer than, a Rush channel or whatever the brand is expecting.
Yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, some of these, it's crazy how, just seeing how people run their different channels from behind. Also, I was going to say too, so YouTube paid $30 billion over 3 years. That's what they paid out to creators over the past 3 years. And that article was released August last year, so August 2021. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's really interesting to see like how some of these creators work behind the scenes. Like, my Minecraft friend who I talked about, his profit margin is 99.99%. He bought a house cash at 21. He has a manager, but only takes money off deals that they bring him, and they bring him almost zero deals from my discussion with him. And he doesn't have anyone. He edits all his own videos. He writes all his own scripts. Some people in the community make maps for him, but primarily he makes his own Minecraft maps, and he plays it on like a $5,000 top of line gaming PC that I sponsored to him, like as part of a deal. Yeah. Whereas like you're talking about the animator, compare that to like a staff of 6, 7, 8. Some people have multiple cameramen. I watched a cricket channel last night, just like a cricket channel with 400,000 subscribers has 2 hosts, and I saw 3 other cameramen, following them around to record stuff. Like that all costs money, and they've got 400K subs where my friend has like 2.1 million, with that margin. It's really interesting to see how different people run their different channels.
Yeah, I mean, even when I do deals, some guys are like, yeah, I kind of don't want to do this right now. Yeah, I'll pick up a deal, whatever. They'll make their video. They're like, I don't have content today. I'll do it next week. Brush it off. Kind of like, oh, here it is. And then you have some guys like, oh, I have an assistant. You have to reach out to her to book it. You have to schedule this, schedule that. I have a shoot coming up on the 24th. I need the brief by this date. And, they have like a whole team. So it's super weird. And some people just kind of do it like a hobby and still, kind of just create videos because – one-man team sitting in the bedroom and just raking in that cash because, they don't have overhead and just kind of sit in the room and enjoy it.
Yeah. It's always some bits of content I want to make, which was like comparing creators with like entire companies, like when Laserbeam was at his peak getting 150 million video views per month on YouTube, plus TikTok, plus Instagram, just discount all of that, like just his YouTube reach. It'd be interesting to compare, like how does he compare in like influence, weight, and revenue versus, an entire media organization that hires like 20, 30 people, to write news and do editing and sell deals and that kind of stuff. And his overheads, from my understanding, are, managers that took commission, and I think like a thumbnail person and one editor. And besides that, like a lot of his videos were literally tweeting like, send me funny TikToks to react to. So he wouldn't even have to find them. And then he'd just do a live stream of him reacting to them, light editing, push that as a video, 4 million views. Thanks, see you later. Like, let's do some quick calculations. 4 million views divided by 1,000 to make CPM. Let's say he made $4 CPM. He just made 16 grand US by getting people to send TikToks.
I know when he was uploading those, like when he was getting 150 million views a month, I knew he was doing a lot of Bang Energy ads. And that's around the time where I dealt with them. And back in the day, they were paying. He must have been getting at least, I want to guess like 50K a video, and he was uploading them at least 1 or 2 ads a week. And when he was really pumping out those content, I'm pretty sure it was Laserbeam or Muso. I don't know which one, but I'm pretty sure it was Laserbeam that was on the Bang Energy deals. because that's when I dealt with him, and I knew he was just, getting a shit ton of money for those.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
Here, I just looked up his social blade. So for those listening, here's some numbers for you. So in the month of May 2020, which was his peak, he got 409 million video views in that 1 month. And then the next month in June 2020, 376 million video views. And then it's gone down, progressively since then. He's sitting at 41 at the moment. But just imagine 409 million video views just on YouTube alone. And that doesn't include, once again, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anything else that he was on. I don't think he's ever been on Twitch, if never seriously anyway. You compare that, it's just insane. 500 million video views in one channel. Because I've always wanted to compare that versus, there's obviously the talk of gaming versus esports too. I know how much a lot of these esports teams actually earn, because I talk to people who work there, and I know singular creators who earn more than entire esports teams. With my friend is a Minecraft YouTuber. I know esports teams that people who are listening might know. I know he earns more than them, and these esports teams have 4 to 20 full-time employees with VC funding. And this kid whose sales strategy is tell me a number and I'll do it if I like it, is earning more money than them just because he makes 6 to 7 videos per week. But it does come with, like what we talked about at the start, I'm just always begging him to get an editor because he's just so fucking burnt out all the time.
Yeah.
And he's just going to keep getting burnt out and keep getting more depressed and then not want to make videos anymore. And it's please, man, just hire someone. I know a really good kid in Japan I would love to give to him. He'll charge him $150 a video and it'll take so much mental load off him. He can afford $150 a video. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, some people, I know a creator, he does he needs an editor. It's just inevitable, and he makes so much money, and it's affecting his output of content. And I just told him get an editor, but his loss, when he loses control over his editing, it's just he becomes a freak. Everything has to be a certain way, and that's what he can't let go. And it has he just can't get an editor, because if one thing is wrong, he'll just get upset. But it's ruining his output of content, because he goes from potentially making one video a week or one every 2 weeks to one every month and a half and 2 months because of the hours of editing. Because he spends a couple hours on the actual content, but he spends at least 10 to 20 hours per video on just sitting down and chopping it up on his computer. And I told him to get a team or get some a second editor to just do the chopping up, and you can do the final details. But it's hard for them to let go of that sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, and I guess he is kind of right. It doesn't always work, right? I got a friend who's a couple 100,000 subscribers and was an Overwatch YouTuber, and he, and I remember talking to him in person about it. And he was saying he really wishes he didn't pick the editor that he did, because a lot of people followed him for a specific kind of editing style and the way that he talks and does stuff, and the editor didn't quite get it. And he saw a direct drop in views from the first video the editor uploaded. And then he tried to take it back over and he salvaged some of it. But, once you're kind of out of the algorithm, it's not put him into a death spiral, but it definitely cost him money. But I mean, it's a business decision, right? In the end, you can't always make the best decisions in business. So you just got to keep going. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I agree. And even with the media stuff, how you could, compare a YouTuber to a media company, like you said, with the esports orgs now, not being profitable and, doing these mass layoffs, have you seen about the FaZe Rain situation with FaZe Clan recently? Have you seen the podcasts with him?
Yeah. Do you want to explain it for those people listening? I'll see if I've missed something that you've seen as well. Yeah.
Yeah, FaZe Rain is having issues with FaZe Clan legally, and things like that, with them hiring the wrong staff and having his own issues. And he was explaining on I think Bradley Martin's podcast yesterday that I watched that just came out.
Yeah.
And he was kind of saying they're just doing it backwards. They're hiring people from CBO to run their spending $400,000 a video to getting 300K views per video, where FaZe Rain could sit in his room for free, make a content and get millions and millions of views. And that's why FaZe was profitable for a little bit at the beginning. In 2014, 2013, they were raking up millions of dollars, but now they're becoming corporate, and he's having an issue that the fact that they're hiring, CBO executives and things like that to run their content. And he says that it ruins the experience of, he's had comments where, he's been filmed by a professional camera, and his audience is telling him, just grab the G7X because, we feel like we're connected to you more and things like that. So, I don't know the full story, but I know that, there's been legal issues where his shares and things like that with the team and them not listening. So I don't really know the details of it, but I just know that, when you said comparing the media and the YouTuber, I don't know if orgs need to go back to the roots, and decreasing their cost on hiring, content directors, and then, this person and set, person, I think having one person is good to help with everything. But I think having a 20 team employee to run a channel that's not even passing 5 million views a month, it might not be worth it. And just going back to the roots, how FaZe Clan did it back in the day, might be worth it, because he was mentioning as well, like how the Beta Squad, the Sidemen, groups like that are absolutely killing it, in terms of revenue growth and things like that, and keeping it simple and keeping the core values and not turning into this large, corporation or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. Like the theme of what you're saying is like over professionalization of content, right?
Yeah,
like exactly. I've seen that a lot in a lot of different people. Like, FaZe Clan aside, but you've seen this a lot in all of esports, where a lot of it was like raw and unique and interesting, and holding a selfie cam and the camera is like shaking a bit and the microphone isn't the best because they're excited, they're running around, they're yelling, and it seems like you're a friend and you're part of what they're doing. And then you see this with a lot of YouTube channels or esports teams where they start just becoming too professional and things are too produced. And this is my common answer to people as to why like so many of these corporate media people coming into esports don't work with creating like these esports shows and creating like these weekly wrap-up shows of esports and stuff. They don't want someone sitting behind a desk wearing a suit talking about the CSGO results. Like the esports people made it very clear, like the gamers don't want that at all. They would much rather watch someone on TikTok hold an iPhone in selfie mode with a $100 Rode microphone they bought from Best Buy and just give their opinion on something about, about what's happened. And I do wonder, like, are we going to hit a cycle? Because YouTube right at the beginning was poor quality just because no one had access to anything, right? And then Rocket Jump Ninja and all this other stuff came through that started professionalizing it. And then you get ahead on YouTube by making high quality content because it simply didn't exist, because they're like, wow, this is what I see in the movies. I can now see on my computer. And now with like TikTok, it's gone back to, okay, how do you just spit out as much content as possible and the quality is questionable as long as it's passable, that you can hear them okay and the music's not too loud and, the topics are good. I wonder if we're going to hit that cycle again where people are going to want to go back and then see like some really professionally edited content and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's where the esports content side is going to go, especially. I think it's going to do like that cycle where it's going to go back to more, original kind of shaky camera, personality rather than these over professionalized podcasts and things like that. And I think, like you said, it's just going to go into a cycle again, and then eventually it's going to go back into more professional, and I think it's going to happen like that. I believe so.
Yeah. Who knows, man? I mean, things work. Fashion works in cycles. Business works in cycles. Maybe content's going to work in cycles as well. Because at the moment, it's just, like I try to explain TikTok to people. It's like playing the lottery, I feel like, a lot of the time. And it doesn't cost you much to buy in. And the people who get ahead on Twitter as well as TikTok are the people who'll tweet like 20 times a day. And the people who will create like 10 TikToks a day. Because you go to someone's TikTok, and as long as the content is serviceable, their views are all over the place. It's not like YouTube where you have a baseline, like what we were talking about, right? Like with advertising, like the baseline is often, this person normally gets 20, 30,000 views. So it's going to cost you, $2,000 to do an ad deal with them or whatever. Where TikTok, like one of our old clients, Veil VR, they've got 100 to 105,000 followers on TikTok. You go to their TikTok and take a look at their views. They'll be like 9,000. The next video will be 100,000. Then it'll be 20,000. And then it'll be 12,000. Like, it's just not, there's no baseline. And I guess for people listening too, LinkedIn's going that way as well. There was a period of time where I could have 100 likes on a good post, 30 likes on pretty much anything, any boring post. My baseline now with 36,000 followers is like 0 to 2 likes. I can quite legitimately post a post and get like 2 likes on it. And it's, maybe other algorithms are going to change. Maybe YouTube's going to go that way with YouTube Shorts and that kind of stuff too, where it's like all about like consistency and quality of content. Like I need to be very aware of what I'm posting on LinkedIn now, and I can't just be on autopilot, because if I post something boring, it's just not going to get any engagement at all.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe that's why my LinkedIn seems dead when I post. It's not just me, just the algorithm.
Yeah. I see that with everyone, man. There's like a guy like Brendan Gahan who's in my content creator. We have like a content creator focus group on LinkedIn, and I was talking to him about it. It's just, we're all just all over the place. Like I'm looking back at my last posts, 15 likes, 40 likes, then 137, then 41, then 27, then 130, then 913, then 22, then 85. Like what's the baseline here? They're all over the place. They're not even close. And then 49, then 38, then 35. And then 333. They're just not, you know what I mean? It's
have you tried any testing with it? Like, I don't know, format or words, I don't know, or pictures, carousels or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, over time, yes. Actually, there's a way, and I found out not everybody has this. There's a way to post native carousels to LinkedIn. And this is where I started seeing a lot of my growth working with Bax. Who's down listening here is like my right-hand man. And we started making carousels out of PDFs. And this trend kind of started on Instagram, actually. And we brought it across to LinkedIn because our thinking was similar to early YouTube. The quality of content on LinkedIn is so shockingly poor that if we can not only make things that are better than everyone else, but much, much better, we're going to see good cut through. And that worked out really well for us. So often we'd make a carousel, which is like a swipe through thing. We'd make that as a PDF, upload it as a document. That would work. But now LinkedIn has installed a thing where you can actually upload a carousel natively. So you can upload the PNGs or JPEGs individually. You can even upload JPEG and then like a video and then a JPEG, then a video, then whatever you want to do. But I found the reach on those to be abysmal. Like I remember uploading something that I thought would go pretty well, and it just got like nothing, got like 4 likes. And I was like, damn, this is a really important, interesting, insightful topic. No way. But I think in general, like you can probably spot something that I do a lot with posts, and a lot of it is I will write a headline just like an article would. Sometimes I do it in capitals. Sometimes I won't. So let's take like a post that I did a day ago, which did pretty well, which is the 36,000 followers post, right? So here I say 36K followers in capitals with a rocket emoji. It's taken years of consistent content creation, networking, and information sharing to get here. So it's like a good wrap up of what, I want to talk about and a good thing to hook people in. And then LinkedIn has told like a lot of the creators, because we have these like creator managers, just like you would on Twitch. We have those on LinkedIn now, that LinkedIn is prioritizing discussion and it's prioritizing like learnings and sort of leadership and stuff. So even if you're just like the most junior person in the company and you post about, hey, fucked up at work a month ago, this is what I learned about that fuck up, that's going to get put in the algorithm fairly well, compared to just like, I don't know, something random, like sharing a piece of news or something like that, which is a lot of my posts. But if you do want to share news, once again, you'll have a headline like what I do, then I'll summarize the article, and then I'll add something extra. So my hope is that by people following me, I will help to show them what's important in the industry, how it relates to them, a little bit of extra information. And so they don't even need to read the article. They get more out of it by just reading my 4 dot points in one sentence than they would even if they went to go read the article by themselves. Plus they don't have to find the article either. So, and that's part of what we're working on with our AI product. That we'll be talking about a bit soon as well, about, we've been going through a lot of thinking of how do we turn Chris Smith into an AI, and we're getting close.
Damn, that's crazy. Because I do see, I don't know who it is. I think his name is Mark Kai, that does pretty good content. I don't know if his content has been affected as well. I don't speak to him, but I know that he makes video types recaps on, Esports Weekly that he does. That is super fun to watch. But I don't know if his content has been affected, if you have any insight on that as well.
Yeah, his is definitely more news focused than mine. So everybody has like different styles of posting, right? So Mark is in my content creator group as well. So Mark is primarily giving just updates on important news that's happening, which is where I started, like just giving news. But a little bit deeper than say like Jake Lucky, who also posts on LinkedIn. Jake Lucky's will be very surface level and zero opinions included, and just like here's something cool that's happened. Where Mark is a little bit more targeted and it's a little bit more business related and a little bit more hardcore in the news that he'll do. And then, like you said, every Sunday or Monday or somewhere around that time, he'll post like a weekly wrap up of everything as well. And maybe explain things a little bit more. So you could say Mark is maybe halfway between me and Jake, maybe in a way, kind of thing.
Okay.
And, you know, and thinking about like the type of content you post, you go the complete opposite way. Someone else is in my content creator group, Jonas Gunderson, who's the chief operating officer of NIP, an esports team. He only posts like leadership learnings and things like that too. He'll post news, but generally it's only news if it's huge or if it's related to his company specifically, you know, that he's leading. So you just need to find, you know, I was talking to someone yesterday about this from Sponsor United, just talking about like LinkedIn strategy and stuff. Just find the way that you want to post and why you're posting. So for me, like the vanity metric of likes and comments is actually very important because my content is very targeted. So I'm not getting just like random recruiters and software engineers like in other countries. They're not going to be liking my post because it doesn't mean anything to them and they won't understand what it is and it's not relevant to them at all. So because my content is so targeted, I know that by getting more engagement, I'm reaching the exact people that I want to. And you can do that on LinkedIn because it gives you the insights into what kind of companies, what kind of job roles, and what kind of locations are reading these posts. So I can make a good post. Like I went through with Bax last week and we had a post that did well, got like 200 likes. We went and took a look at it and all of the top people reading were from Amazon, Twitch, EA, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my industry. That's my market. So that's perfect. You know, if the top people were like Deloitte, KPMG and Google, then I might be all like, okay, well, I'm not reaching the audience. You know, sure, they might have some relevance to me depending what department, but not as much relevance as that. And then a lot of my posts are read by business development, marketing, founder, CEO. You know, it'll tell you the job roles too. And that's perfect because those are the kind of people that I want to reach, especially in the past when I'm selling agency deals. Because for me, for a long time, LinkedIn has been about how do I position myself as an industry leader? How do I share my thoughts with other people and gain a following? And how do I win agency deals by people reading my posts going, shit, Chris probably knows what he's talking about, given what he's posting. We should reach out to him to do something with him. And that's how I got, I don't know, 9 out of 10 of my largest clients or 7 out of 10 of my largest clients all inbound through LinkedIn. It's how I got my investment from Playside Studios. Jerry sent me a DM and said, hey, I've seen you posting a lot about esports. You look like you know what's going on. Can you come in and have a chat to us? We're interested in talking. And then, you know, started with them as a consultant and turned into investment from that side. So you just need to ask yourself why. Whereas like Jake, I don't know, you could say maybe we're friends or acquaintances or whatever. I would say that from the outside, you're probably not going to Jake to like help lead your strategy or do like some heavy consulting or do like marketing for you, but you're probably going to go to him as like almost like a culture consultant, which is what I call like Clinton Sparks all the time, which is why I talk to him. Like, where's the industry going? What's the culture saying? What's it doing? Or just for general information because he's sharing that surface level news. So he's like the master of what's going on everywhere all the time, but I'm trying to be a master of like 1, 2, 3 steps deeper than that. Like not just, you know, this cool stuff is happening with streamers in Elden Ring. For me, it's like why Elden Ring and why the streamer's making this content and what money they're making out of it, et cetera, that kind of thing. So it's a different scope and a different level look, but he can cover much, much wider industry. And, you know, because he's setting himself up as a news source and expert in knowing everything that's happening all the time. So it's just different. It's just understanding why, like why are you sharing this content as well? Why are you making it? How are you positioning yourself?
Yeah. And I had a thought. I don't know if it was you that told me. Was it you that told me that when you removed your LinkedIn Premium, you saw an effect on your engagement as well? Or is it not you?
I don't think so, because I think I got caught in the creator trap too of thinking people gave a shit about me, and I've done this 2 times now where it's like, oh, I've grown. You know, when I first blew up, like I got featured. LinkedIn used to have like a featured post thing, and I used to get featured so much. Especially when I was posting hardcore about esports. And that was when I started getting, 100 likes at almost every post and was riding high. And I was like, this is fucking sick. And then I posted a bit more about myself. And I think it was a harsh reality of no one gives a shit about you. They're following you because once again, they're following you for a reason. Like they're not following, people will live or die by like what t-shirt and hat Nick Merckx wears because they care about him deeply as an influencer and a person. It's not as much about that for me. And, I was shocked when I went to TwitchCon. I went to a couple of parties. I went to like the 100 Thieves Juvie party and what was the party before that? My God, I always forget their name. Galaxy Racer party before that. Yeah. And I was shocked, dude. I had like 6 people come up to me who I didn't know who was like, wow, Chris, you have the best content on LinkedIn. Like I love like, what you say and how you say it. And you've provided me so much information. And I was like, that's fucking insane. But B, it really shows that like, yes, I'm hitting the mark with what I want to do. And they're also not saying, wow, Chris, you're so sexy and cool. I love you. It's like, I like the content that you share. Like what you do is very helpful to me. Like what you produce is very helpful to me. And I get lots of DMs like that too. It's like, thanks for sharing this content. Like this content has helped me. And that's, dude, like my start of my LinkedIn strategy was literally, I would read an article. And if I would say, hey, that article is interesting to me, it's probably therefore interesting to someone else, and I would share it on LinkedIn. That's how I started in 2018. It's literally how I started on LinkedIn. And then just, expand it out from there. And then it was like, okay, how can I do more? How do people want to read information? Well, I love infographics on Reddit. So I'm going to make infographics. Carousels, we came across one on Instagram and I went, damn, that looks really cool. And I learned something. Okay, so let's try a carousel and did that. And then it was like, okay, this year, part of it is like, how do we function a little bit more like an influencer does, but bring that to LinkedIn? Because my big theme of like last year and this year is just because it's business doesn't mean it has to be boring. And most business people are not content creators because that's why they're in business. Accountants and lawyers are very important and you need them in a business, but they're not always creative people because they just work with words and numbers. So if you can bring a creative aspect to it, and I can still keep the same themes of not being heavily opinionated, creating content that people enjoy, providing leading questions and trying to get people into discussion, but influence her up a little bit, like do some more inflections like Mr. Beast does, maybe talk a little bit louder, have a cool background, then cool, I can do that. But I'm not going to go full like, what up guys, like, comment, subscribe. I'm not going to do that. But I'm definitely going to do that voice that I just did where I'm much louder and will present information that way because people are just going to pay attention to it. It's like I had a talk with a guy, a director at KPMG the other day, talking about like how shit education games are at the moment. And they just need to make games that are fun because kids are like, you want to play this like shitty math game? I would rather be playing Fortnite. If you can make the shitty math game as fun as Fortnite, but they're learning, or at least 80% as fun as Fortnite, then they're going to play the game. And yeah, man, that's my rant.
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, you helped me remember that one time with FaZe Clan when you made me post about I don't know what it was, but you made it go viral or something. I kind of asked you to film it for me. I don't remember what it was. And then I had the talent manager at FaZe Clan who's no longer there because he got fired after the crypto scam.
Insane. Yeah, insane.
He called me and basically said, I was 16 or 17 at the time, and he called me and says, you're never going to be an agent and you're a fucking idiot, just swearing at me. He's like, if you ever come to LA, I'll make sure nobody knows who you are. And just, super hilarious. But I remember that I asked you saying, I want to post like you, and you said, okay, here, post this. And it got like 500 or 600 likes, and like it was blowing up all over LinkedIn, my first ever post, and I had to take it down because I was scared of FaZe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I guess for those people listening, he's no longer at FaZe. He got fired because he orchestrated a crypto scam. Go figure. That guy was a dick, and he probably continues to be a dick. Hopefully, he learns from that. He went full Hollywood on you, man. He went like, you're never going to work in this town again. Full movie Hollywood on you. That was crazy.
Yeah, he did. He said, but I don't remember, but I was like, I've never had, FaZe Clan as a, 16-year-old, you've always wanted to join, and you have a talent manager there representing your favorite creators at the time and, telling you you'll never be anything in life. It's, now I look at it and laugh at it. But at first, I remember I contacted you and said, this guy's coming after me. Can you talk to Jeff, who was the CRO at the time, to say that I wasn't a bad guy?
Yeah. I can't care. We all know you're a bad guy. That's why you're here. Yeah. Hey, if anyone, because we've got 20 minutes left, if anyone wants to come up from the audience and ask a question, just raise your hand. I can see some guy clicking and unclicking. But there's like a little button you can come up and raise your hand. You can make a comment. You can ask us a question or anything like that. Feel free to. I'll let one guy up. Hey, Ethan, what's going on, man?
Hi, how you doing, buddy? All good?
Yeah, good. What would you like to ask or say?
Yeah, no, I'm doing something called you plus 30. So what you think if you will be talking to a guy which is you in a 30 years when you are 60, and instead of getting a mentor or role model from outside the area? So it's going to be you in the future.
So you're saying where do I think I'll be in 30 years, or what advice would I give myself as a 30-year-old when I'm 60?
Nope, it's not. It's different. While you live in your 30s, you will be having you at 60 as an old wise man, which is you from all perspective in 9 aspects. It's called the program U plus 30. So instead of having a blah, blah, blah manager for Microsoft as a role model, it will be you. If you need to ask a question, you will go back and talk to you. But
right. So is this something you're creating, like a program or something you're creating?
Yeah. Already I'm doing it. It's take a lot of people, but yeah, I did it twice for, Dubai small sheikh.
Yep. Interesting, man.
Yeah. But
do you have
what you think?
I mean, it sounds interesting. Just I'd like to check it out. Shoot me through a message, and I'll see it come through. And then I'll take a look at it.
My pleasure. All right, buddy.
Hey, thanks, man.
Hey.
We got Henry wanting to come up.
Hey, guys.
Henry, what's going on, man?
Not much. Really enjoyed your guys' chat. I just kind of wanted to pop in and say that back in 2020, last time, Kieran, you came on the Big Esports podcast, that episode was probably the biggest point of inspiration for me to get into influencer marketing and to pursue a career on the agency side. And I did that. It was amazing. And yeah, I just wanted to firstly thank you for giving me that inspiration.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, that's like the second time I've gotten that from a young guy like myself. So, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I think I've seen your content. I know you post on LinkedIn, so I have been following you, and I knew you were at AFK doing your thing, and now you're at, I think you have your own production agency. Was it that I saw?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I've been following you, but I appreciate it, and we should probably connect soon. So, we can chat, and, we're similar age, so we can, speak our mind and not having to talk to boomers like Chris. So, yeah.
No, I really appreciate you both. So yeah, just wanted to say that, and we should definitely connect. My quick question was, I really enjoy holistic talent management where you have a close relationship. You maybe help them with their taxes, merch drop. It's not just transactional. But do you think there's a place for more transactional agents or agencies that just focus just on the brand deals?
Well, that's my main business, kind of the transactional ways. But like you said, I enjoy more of like the, helping them out with their taxes, their accounting, setting up their merch, building IP with them, or whatever it is, or, other businesses. But I would say like 60 or 80% of my business is pretty much transactional. So yes, there is a place where I think, there has been agents where, their work is kind of displayed on being able to get a bunch of deals for these creators. And that's how I started. I kind of just said, listen up, take your, trust me, and I'll bring you as much deals as possible. And that's where the trust was built. And then I was able to, build a merch line with them, or, build a brand with them. So that's kind of how I proved myself to my first, let's say, 5 or 10 creators.
I love it. Good answer. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Something you could look up there too, Henry, is in the MMA space. There's a manager called Tim Simpson, who previously was at Paradigm, who is partnered with Game Square, and that's Conor McGregor's agency as well. He's gone and made his own agency called Chosen Advisory Group. He's an Aussie, so obviously he's the best. But he does the same thing with MMA fighters, which is quite rare. So he works with, for example, some of these names may or may not make sense to you or anyone listening, but like Israel Adesanya, who was the previous middleweight champion of the world, one of the greatest middleweights of all time, Leon Edwards, who's the current welterweight champion, Yuri Prochazka, who was until recently the light heavyweight champion until he sustained an injury, Max Holloway, one of the GOATs, Casey O'Neill, who's a major upcoming fighter. So he picks and chooses fighters, and he works with them extremely closely, and he keeps a really small list of people that he works with. So it might be interesting to you just to take a look at how that works in another industry versus, gaming, where some people, some agencies are what we call like Pokemon collectors, they just try to sign as many as possible, do as little deals for them as possible, and off they go.
Yeah. Well, I'll drop him a follow. Thanks for the shout. I just really like that stuff. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Shoot me a message too.
You got another one coming up? James always asks the hard-hitting questions. James is the journalist, Kieran, so watch what you say, man. He's going to publish a hit piece on you.
Don't mention me in Face Clan, please, James.
So let me ask you a question. How much of this $7 million in influencer deals did you get? How much have you made off of these deals?
How much I've made off of these deals, or how much of that 7 million I brought in?
Yeah, no. How much have you or your agency made off of these deals?
Well, I'm not going to say the exact amount, but you can figure it out. My commission is between 10 and 20%. So, some deals I make larger margins. Some deals, when I bring them to, especially to creators that I don't represent, brand will pay me, for James $10,000, and the creator only quotes me $5,000, so I can keep the rest. But when I try to sign them, I usually try to give them 80-20, or I'm really down to 90-10 at this moment because I don't really need to bring on more talent. But between 10 and 20% of that 7 million I've made.
And let me ask you another question. When you're signing new talent, what are you looking for these days? Like, do they have to have big numbers, or is it about the content they're creating?
It's about the content, and also I like to look at brand partnerships that they've done in the past, and I now have a good senses of what when I know a creator can convert for a brand. So usually I try to sign creators that I know, or I can use my judgment and say, okay, this guy will convert for most of the brands that I work with, which results in a better relationship with the brands, the creator, everyone's happy, and it, creates that recurring revenue for me that ends up leading into a 12-month or a 6-month partnership. And in terms of what I look for, just consistency. The size doesn't really matter. I do have like a range I typically work with, which is usually like creators between 300,000 and like 500,000 views, because that's where I get most of the deals and leads coming in for, where it's worth it, where, those guys usually charge between 5 to 10K, and that will be worth it for me to make that deal from the onboarding call to the contract signing. 5 to 10K will make me anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000, depending on the price. So that's where it becomes worth it for me. Anything lower than that, it all depends on, what I think their projected growth will be in the next couple of months. Then I'll take that gamble and that bet and be like, listen, I'll make the, $150 off each deal for all the work that I'm doing for them. But, eventually they're going to become a larger talent, which I'm doing right now. I'm trying to sign a guy that only has 60K subs, but his last 2 videos received 1 million views each. And I think he has a huge potential becoming one of the biggest storytellers on YouTube. So I think I'm going to take the gamble of signing him, being a smaller creator, and then betting on that he will be a larger creator in the future.
Okay, one last question, then Chris can kick me out of here. Which is better for brands, TikTok or Shorts? Because I know for creators that TikTok's not that great in terms of just generally generating revenue. It's pretty awful. So YouTube I haven't dealt with in terms of ad placement on like with brands promoting on YouTube Shorts. On TikTok I have, and I can tell you that at the beginning when TikTok came out, I was signing. There was a girl that I signed with Bang Energy actually.
in 2019, and they were paying her $30,000 for 4 videos a month. She did have 10 million followers, but for TikTok, they were paying her, $400,000 a year. And they spent over of that 7 million I've signed, they did about 1.5 to 2 million of that. I'm not too sure of the number exactly, but that's where I got my initial start with these TikTok deals. But YouTube, since it's still new with shorts, I haven't experienced too much brand deals or any at all at the moment on that. But to answer your question, I think it's TikTok, but it could be YouTube soon.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
I think we had one more person had their hand up before, but maybe it's gone.
I see him. It's Monir, I think.
Yeah, I'll see if they come back up. Oh, really? I can't see anyone with their hand up. Can you bring them up? All right, can I promote you to a host maybe?
Yeah, it doesn't let me bring him up. It only lets me follow his profile.
Damn. Maybe if they can undo it and redo it, then I might be able to see them because my thing crashed briefly while you were talking. Here we go. I can see him now.
Perfect.
Just got to accept the invite, sir. Just send it through to you. You know that YouTube Shorts ad revenue thing's interesting, right? I remember I posted about it. A lot of people making a big deal about ad revenue coming to YouTube Shorts, and then what was it? Mr. Beast Manager posted about it. What is it, like a 0.03? So what, 3 cents per 1,000 views or something like that, compared to like a $4 to $8 CPM on normal YouTube, and like a 30 or 20 to $50 CPM for ads, like as in ads that you would sell.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who was it? I think one of the Signmen compared one of their TikToks with their shorts. Exact same video, same amount of views. And on TikTok, they made about $5, where on YouTube for the same amount of views, I think it was 1.5, they made $57. So, and some people are seeing better viewership on shorts, actually. And I don't know if that's because of the algorithm, but they're posting the exact same content on TikTok and YouTube, and it's getting pushed a lot more on YouTube. And I don't know if that's because of the audience differences or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a business idea for anyone, but I've been thinking about when you're managing a channel, it doesn't happen often anymore, but when, let's say, a manager takes revenue of the ad revenue itself for, being a creative director for the channel, Mr. Beast does it where he dubs his channels, right? So having businesses kind of help dub creators' channels and, doing a revenue split on those specific channels, in Spanish, English, Portuguese, whatever, and building a team, a translator team. I don't know if that's a business that will come up soon, but if it's an idea for anyone that wants to take it, but I think it might be interesting. It's kind of like the MCN thing, but you do the work for them, but you don't do much work, right? So you kind of, put a translation or get a translator for the video and re-upload it onto a dubbed channel like Mr. Beast does. And, you do a revenue share with them, but I haven't heard any businesses or no businesses have reached out yet, to do that. But I think it's super.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, man. There's businesses that will take, and there's this one specific business that works with like Ninja and Courage and Dr. Disrespect and like a whole bunch of the big ones that will take their, 4-hour Twitch stream and turn it into TikToks, Facebook posts, tweets, YouTube shorts, 10-minute videos. Like they'll automate that entire process for them. They'll do the hashtags, the thumbnails, the descriptions, the post scheduling, all that kind of stuff. So it would make sense to have that language stuff in there too, because for anyone who wants to, like Mr. Beast's first appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, he talks about that a lot. Didn't they say the guy who voices his Portuguese, I think, it also is the Portuguese dub for Spider-Man. It's like the same voice actor or something like that.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. Monia, what's going on, man? Good to have you up here. What would you like to know?
Hey, didn't want to interrupt there. Huge fan, Chris and Kieran. Appreciate your insight here. I just had a quick question. When it comes to the sales side of things, in your experience, what's been the most effective use of your time and energy, resources in trying to discover new talent or, in sort of outbound efforts? What I mean by that, has it been like going to shows, checking out who's trending, Twitter DMs, cold calling, etc.? What has been really kind of effective in trying to get to the person or audience you want to get to in order to have a conversation with them?
Yeah, sure. At the beginning, it was emails, just cold emails, just reaching out. And if you listen to our first podcast, I mentioned to Chris that I go for this faceless community, which is like the Rust guys and the DayZ. And that was a niche that wasn't touched by agents. So it's kind of a free grab for me. There's no point of me going for Call of Duty or Fortnite or these large games because they're already signed by these large, agencies. So I saw like a market in Rust, and I was able to sign my first client, which, I did a deal with him, and then his friend asked him, another fellow creator, where'd you get that deal? And I was introduced, and that's how I get most of my leads now. But Twitter DMs have been helpful in the past where, a creator will follow me, and I do use Twitter as a way to sign creators as well, where my posts will go pretty my posts sometimes get 300,000 to 400,000 impressions on there, and new creators will DM me with their demographics, and the conversation will go there. But sometimes, a way I like to explain it is, when you're at night and you're on YouTube and you're scrolling, you end up watching a cat video or a rabbit video. That's kind of what happens to me with creators. Like I'll go through channels and I'll eventually end up on a channel that I've never seen before, of a game that I've never seen or anything, but it'll be a fantastic channel, and I'll randomly start watching the content, and I'll, hop on my PC, send a quick email, or, try to contact them in the best way, and, find some, gold kind of there. But mostly it's been through connections of other creators, mostly.
Appreciate
and touching on like the acquisition thing you're talking about, Munir, is something that Kieran said before was exactly the same way that I build friendships and work with these creators. Is you just got to offer them something first. Like Kieran was saying, he tries to do 1 to 5 deals with the creator first before you ask for something from them, because people are asking for things from these creators all the time for free. They're getting nonstop spam in their inbox from like Amazon sellers being like, hey, can you please, I'll give you a product for free. Or, there's been lots of controversy recently where some brands will say, hey, we'll partner with you, kind of in quotation marks, and they will send you a discount code for you to buy their product and then feature it on the stream, which is not really a partnership. So if you can provide like some value to them, then yeah, you can go off. Like there's a Designs by IFR is like one of the biggest PC and modding channels in the world. I remoted into his PC and showed him how to write his first invoice with my invoice template I sent to him. I was on a call with him when he registered his Australian business number. Like I walked him through that process of how to do it. So now we're friends for a long time. There's the Minecraft YouTuber I was talking about. I helped him out with some COVID application stuff that he was doing. I gave him an accountant to talk to for free. So besides like just bringing deals to them, it's just like being a real person, because the creators are, a lot of the time, they're just kids and they're making a lot of money and they're excited and they just sometimes want someone to talk to because they don't have anything. Imagine you're like 16 years old and you get like 5 million video views a month on YouTube and you're making like $30,000 and you're out earning your parents and your grandparents combined, and none of your friends get it because they don't earn any money at all, or they're working at KFC and they might hate you for it, or they just don't understand it, or they might just come to school and say, hey, that video you released last night was cringe, bro. And you're like, well, that fucking sucks because I put my whole life into that video. So it's just so different. So sometimes just, I think people, and this goes for LinkedIn too, because I had a rant about LinkedIn before, just be a person, just be a real person, and you'll go a long way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I do with my creators, and it's gone to the point where, he'll text me and just be like, yo, brother, I got a new car, or, yo, I'm doing this, or you want to meet up, or, it's kind of like a friendship. Like I could pretty much, I won't do it, but rip up the contract and, still do deals with him, and he'll trust me fully. And, just being a real person and being a friend sometimes, and sometimes just watching their content that, they shoot ideas or whatever, just listening to them just works, and it builds a stronger relationship and trust between them. Because that's the biggest thing that I faced when signing at the beginning, because I was 17 or 16 when I started. And, who's going to believe a 16 or 17-year-old? Like I was managing a guy that was 32 and he wasn't able to pay his tax bill, and I was his quote unquote manager or agent. So it's like a weird relationship that we had because he was double my age and giving me advice, but I was, working on his brand and his brand deals for a long time. So, building that like connection with them is super important if that's what you're interested in doing as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for all that information, Chris. Thank you for the story. Definitely appreciate you sharing your experience as well.
Thanks.
Sweat,
Appreciate
man.
it.
It's a good old boomer story. It's good to bring out every now and then.
Well, I'm right around that age, so not too far off.
Hey, let's go. I turned 32 this year. I'm basically ancient.
Yeah, the 30s gang, rise up.
Exactly. All right. I gotta head off, Kieran. I gotta head off to a meeting. But it's been sick to catch up, man. It's good. Let's not wait 2 years next time. Actually, we should do this. I've been thinking about doing this on Twitter as well. So we should do this on Twitter next. And it'd be really cool to sync up with one of your talent as well, so we can talk some shit about you while you listen in the wings.
Oh yeah, and see how much money I steal from them, right?
Exactly.
For sure. I mean, we could set that up on Twitter. I have never done whatever you call it on Twitter, but I'd love to bring a creator on to speak about their experiences with me and how it is with dealing with an agent or other experiences that they've had with other agencies. I mean, it'd be cool to get insight on that because I know that you've done the. I've listened to that podcast you did with that Minecraft YouTube, right?
Yep.
A couple years ago now. I don't know when, but it's super interesting to hear from the creator side as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I did a couple. I did one with him. I did one with Dantix, who also owns a cafe. He does a lot of like RPG games and stuff. Massive Mass Effect fan. That's really cool. And I go and have lunch with him probably once every 3 or 4 months at his cafe, I think. But free lunch, you can't argue with that. And then who else did I have on? I had Matt CS, who I talked about before as well. He made a bunch more money off commission after we managed to convince him. And then he went into launching a lot of his own businesses. Yeah, he was basically getting running a CSGO kind of gambling YouTube to make enough money to launch his own CSGO gambling company. Yeah. And he was also funneling it through his own like affiliate network and affiliate website. Super smart way of doing it. I love that guy. He's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some of his stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't really make content anymore, unfortunately. He just got over it, but makes sense, man. He's focusing on 4 businesses now instead. So,
yeah, I mean, good for him.
Yeah, exactly, man. All right, sweet. I got to head off. Thanks for catching up, Kieran.
Thanks, and thanks to everyone who joined in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks everyone for listening. Yeah. Keep following. We'll be announcing next week's again soon. If you want to be a guest, let me know. If you have a suggestion of a guest, let me know. It's all pretty casual. We don't have any scripts. Just talk about things that are related to the topic there. Kind of try to Joe Roganify it without the conspiracy. So catch everyone later. Have a good one. We'll see you in the next.
All right. Peace. See you, man.